What up and welcome to Rama Screen YouTube channel, and here's my review of Prime Video new series House of David. Let's rock this. Okay, so this show is very interesting. Look, anybody who are either Jewish or Christians would know the story of King David like the back of their hand because they have been taught about it since they were little. So they are going to be the most critical group of audiences when it comes to biblical adaptations like this. But here's the thing. I've already watched all 8 episodes of this first season, and I gotta tell ya, House of David is not too shabby. It's not perfect. It has its shortcomings, but the way that they expand the story has its pretty good qualities. You see, when you read about King David in the Bible, his story arc is pretty straightforward, from one momentous event to the next. Now, what this show does is basically fill in the gaps with subplots and additional character motivations that make the story more full and substantive. The downside is, in their effort to fill in those gaps, some of the episodes do suffer from being bloated and needlessly sluggish. Some of the lead-ups to certain things make sense, while others just feel like a time waster. Again, as I implied earlier, the target audiences are very specific and narrow, so unless you are a curious viewer, unless you are a fan of period pieces, if you're not Jewish nor Christians, you're probably not gonna care about the fact that Prime Video has crafted an episodic epic journey of David. House of David tells the story of the ascent of the biblical figure David, who eventually becomes the most renowned and celebrated king of Israel. The series follows the once mighty King Saul as he falls victim to his own pride. At the direction of God, the prophet Samuel anoints an unlikely outcast teenager as the new king. As Saul loses his power over his kingdom, David finds himself on a journey to discover and fulfill his destiny, navigating love, loss, and violence in the court of the very man he's destined to replace. As one leader falls, another must rise. By the time you watch this video review, the first 3 episodes have already arrived on Prime Video, with the subsequent episodes arriving on a weekly basis. So there's no need for me to paint a detailed picture because you have already seen the show by now. Included in the good qualities are, of course, the set designs, the costumes, the cinematography, the earthy tone, and the sweeping score. The show is indeed a sight to behold, not to mention the fact that they cast actual Jewish actors for the roles. Prime Video and the producer certainly have money to burn, and they went above and beyond to make this appear as authentic as possible. Mission accomplished, so that's a huge positive. Definitely ambitious and elaborate and no expense spared. Now, I'm not sure which ancient scrolls or ancient sources they used to pull those extra subplots from, or maybe they're mostly original creative ideas, but if you notice, what they're aiming for is a Game of Thrones style retelling of the story of David. Obviously, since this is purposely meant to be a faith-based show, it doesn't have the typical stuff that Game of Thrones had, like graphic nudity and F-bombs every other sentence. So what House of David does is upping or raising their on-screen violence and their cinematic approach to make it PG-13, if you will. All of which does make the show visually bold and fascinating. In my opinion, the show could have or should have trimmed down the total number of episodes, because even with just 3 episodes in, some audiences are gonna like, wait, why is this more about the House of Saul as opposed to the House of David? We spend too much time with Saul and his wretched family that it's kind of boring. I mean, I get it. The show wants to depict the gradual transition of power, but I fear that that is done at the cost of losing the audience's patience and their attention span. Some of the dialogues also get lost in the train of ramblings, and the performances of the actors are a mixed bag. Stephen Lang as Samuel is way too intense. He gets a bit cartoony at times. But the young man they cast as David, Michael Iskander, fits like a glove. Ayelet Zurer, who plays Saul's devious wife, tries too hard to be this story's Walmart version of Cersei Lannister. She's only conniving and manipulative up to a certain point, but after that, she's just bland. But if you're willing to sit through the long-winded episodes, the payoff at the end with the conflict against Goliath is pretty damn sensational in my book. That final episode has a grandiose aesthetic quality about it that's breathtaking and triumphant. So yeah, overall I give House of David the rating of 3.5 out of 5. It has been a while since that 1985 live-action King David movie starring Richard Gere, so it's nice to see another new rendition of that famous icon through this show despite its many flaws.